So we got quite a bit of stuff that we want to unpack with him. He's got a lot. So on his, let's go to his about real quick here. Markets, monetary policy, precious metals, economics, and geopolitics. Maneco64, the home of alternative economics and contrarian views. All right, here we go, Maneco. Maneco, can you see me, buddy? I got my camera open for you. Go, there he is. The one and only Maneco64. Let's give a round of applause. Well, you're looking good, buddy.
Thank you. It's a bit early here, but...
Yeah, are you getting ready for golf?
Well, later on, I'll probably go back to sleep a little bit after I'm finished here.
I so appreciate you coming on the show. It really means a lot to us. It really means a lot, that you're here. It's really good. I'm so grateful. And all right, so we're gonna get into a couple of questions. I was watching quite a few of your videos and stuff, and I watch your videos quite a bit actually, and now, I kind of, you're a metal specialist, you're a gold and silver specialist, and I kind of want to ask, we've been seeing a decline in metals, and gold is down 10% roughly from its all-time high, and we've been seeing silver down to roughly about $1.60. It's down 23%. We're looking at bear market territory. My question to you is, what is driving off the sell-off, Mario?
Well, when you say bear market, I don't really agree because gold is up still like 26% on the year.
Right.
Silver is up 30. So yeah, what is driving? This is just a correction, I think, because gold and silver they went up too quickly from the beginning of August, to September. Well, actually, from July to September, beginning of September, and then August as well, it went up too quickly. So it's just correcting and consolidating. I think, in my opinion, the fundamentals are still there. The central banks, the governments, they're going to keep stimulating monetarily and fiscally, and that's why gold and silver go up. They don't really go up. It's the national currencies that go down, I think.
American dollar is looking good. I've been following the American dollar, and it's got quite a bit of strength. It was trading at 94, and the last time I think it was trading at 92 when gold and silver was going up. So that could play a part in the strengthening currency too.
Well, there is sometimes a link between the dollar and gold, but all the currencies, including the U.S. or American dollar, they're all like paper currencies. They're all going to go eventually to zero, as Voltaire said once. And we are at 94, but I think it was almost at 103 earlier in the year. So that as well is just a little rebound. But I tell people that not to worry about the strength of fiat currencies amongst each other, because they're all, sinking versus precious metals in the long term. I think since 2001, versus all the major currencies, gold has gone up 10% per annum all those years, including this year. So yeah, and the other thing about the dollar index that you're talking about, in 2008, it bottomed at 70.69.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, and at that time, the price of gold was just over 1,000. So now we're almost $1,000 higher in gold. Yeah, and the dollar is stronger, but it doesn't mean that gold went down. You see, so that's what I try to tell people.
All right. Okay, we've been seeing a ton of civil unrest, civil disobedience, civil blah, blah, blah. You could go on and on. Sickness, pandemic, whatever you want to call it. Mario, why has there not been any major corrections in any market, whether it's housing, whether it's anything? I mean, it's still pumping along.
I think it's because they're supporting it artificially with all the schemes, government schemes. All the markets, all the credit that the Federal Reserve and other central banks have created and provided, all the programs to buy bonds, all the liquidity they're providing to keep things going, and furlough schemes, loans to small companies, the housing, like in the UK here, a lot of house prices have gone up because they've canceled the stamp duty, which is a tax you pay when you buy a house for like 6 months, only temporarily for houses under £500,000.
They're trying to do that to get first-time home buyers in, right?
Not only first-time home buyers, but also people who are buying houses under 500,000. And I think a lot of people are rushing to move outside the cities. So there's a market for houses outside the city. So that's driven up the house prices on average. But if you look at regions like central London, which usually drives the housing market, that market is probably not really doing that well because there's not many people in central London at the moment. The city of London, where all the finance, insurance, and business goes on, it's like a ghost town. All the restaurants and theaters, they're not really operating fully anymore because they've got a 10 p.m. curfew now. You can't be in a restaurant or anywhere past 10 p.m. So yeah, the housing, it's kept going. I think a lot of people, maybe it's a symptom that people don't want to have the paper money, so they'll buy anything they can.
Right.
And there are very wealthy people there who probably are buying places to rent. Hedge funds, private equity.
Okay, you made a video. It was a really good video discussing that big banks are now persuading customers to take paper over physical gold. And man, the amount of paper out there in realistically versus how much gold is above ground, what's going to happen? Because we saw the Deutsche Bank fiasco in the early 2000s where people wanted the physical gold and they went to certain banks in Europe and they told them, we'll mail you the gold or something, right? Or we don't have it on us right now. And are they going to start pulling these things to do some, I see it as fractional reserve lending gold. Like they'd have 100 ounces in their bank vault, but they'd fractionally lend that out to 100 people. Do you think that's happening, Mario?
Yeah, that's why I don't recommend people deal with banks as far as precious metals is concerned. Also, the GLD and other ETFs, if you read the prospectus, there's loads of counterparties. There's loads of conditions. They say that if there are acts of God, we'll choose not to deliver the metal. So they, special. So nowadays, acts of God, they can really exploit that one.
Oh, and it's like climate change.
or the crisis we're having right now, right?
Yeah, the
health crisis.
Yeah, the COVID.
The cornholio disease.
The coolholio.
That's what the guy from We Are Change calls it, cornholio. But I think it was ABN AMRO. I'm not sure about Deutsche Bank, but about 10 years ago, their clients wanted their gold and they didn't have it.
Yes.
And there's a story about Morgan Stanley. People thought they had bought silver with Morgan Stanley.
That's correct.
Morgan Stanley in the US was even charging them for the storage, but they never had any silver. So it's really bad. They charge you for the storage and they don't even have the stuff.
Imagine, Mario, if me and you try to pull something like that. Oh my God, we'd be sitting in the jail cell in a heartbeat.
Yeah, the too big to fail banks are kind of immune to criminal prosecution. They only get fined, which doesn't really solve anything because the fines are like a fraction of what their revenues. So it's just a cost of doing business for them. And why don't they get prosecuted? Well, because they've become so big that if they come after a bank and destroy it, like they did with Enron, which was right. They should have done. The whole system implodes because there's so much interconnectedness between these too big to fail banks that you bring one down, you bring the whole system down. And I'm not saying that's right that they don't prosecute them, but that's the reason why.
Yeah. You have some really good videos I've been watching the last couple of days, and I picked up 2 of your live streams. You're really good with your a lot. So guys, I'm going to leave you guys a link in the description here. I want you guys to go over to Maneco64 right now. If you haven't subscribed to him, please go and subscribe to him right now. He's got really good analytics on everything, backing it up with graphs, backing it up with fundamental understanding, and backing it with true numbers. You know what I'm saying? Here on this channel, we speculate a lot. We talk a lot. We kind of look around and kind of see what's happening here and there and kind of piecing the puzzle together. But tonight we have a true legend on the channel. Okay, so now true numbers, true analytics. What's with the smoke and mirrors, Mario? When are we going to get some sort of audit? I know in Australia they had that reserve auditor that went in, the big auditing company that went there and started auditing the Australian banks, and they just found a whole pile. They just scratched the surface, Mario, and what they found was just absolutely like charging people that have been dead for 20 years on their bank accounts and not calling the next of kin to pick up the money. All kinds of crap, like really bad, shoddy, underwritten deals. I don't even know how a lot of crap on the books. Banks fraudulently taking down information from customers that don't exist, and people doing they were actually doing phone calls to employers to find out if that person is still working there. Like, this person never worked here, so pay stubs are fraudulent. Is there ever going to come a time where they're going to get some sort of like a royal commission like they had in Australia, in England or Canada or other countries, to actually start looking at this? Because no one's, with this massive bank deregulation, the average Joe Donuts doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean, here in the UK, there's been people that have tried to expose this, even I think ex-policemen and law enforcement people, because banks like RBS, which is NatWest, which is like 2/3 government owned, they've done the same things here. It's happened everywhere. But as I said, a lot of these are too big to fail, so the government doesn't want to touch them. But yeah, eventually, something will come out. In the US, they had Wells Fargo as well. They were opening accounts for people without them knowing it, and then charging them for account fees. It's just really that's the other reason why I tell people not only not to buy precious metals from banks, but also to try and avoid using them for anything. Just use them to have your balance there to pay your bills every month, and that's it. Try to avoid dealing with them. It's like, why would you want to deal with a criminal? So you try. That's what I try to tell people. Just try to avoid them. Don't try to not borrow. Try not to use their services. Just the current account, if that's what you need.
Now that you're in England, I wanted to ask you this. This was a big HSBC whistleblower came forward for HSBC about 5 months ago. I don't know if you remember the article, but it said, if the City of London stopped laundering money, the world would be in a recession.
Yeah, that's probably true. And Catherine Austin Fitz from the Solari report, she always asked the question, would you want to press the red button, which is, it's not only the City of London, but the whole financial system. There's a lot of, like you say, money from dubious background sloshing around. You saw HSBC, they were fined a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I don't remember exactly, I think over $1 billion for laundering money for Mexican drug cartels.
Yeah, and so was Wells Fargo and a couple other big American banks too. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there is a lot of that going on, and but it would bring everything down. I think you look at 2001 or 2. I think the year they invaded Afghanistan.
That's correct.
What happened there? Well, all the poppies started growing again.
Yep. And their excuse was, well, we got to give the locals some sort of employment.
Yeah, and I think the Taliban actually they had eradicated that industry or
Yes.
agricultural product. So, yeah, it's very unfortunately that's the financial system is like all these big banks. They depend on that source of income.
Mary, I love how you choose your words wisely. It's so like how you kind of walk, or it's so good. Okay, Britain and EU make or break phase for Brexit deal by year's end. What's going on?
Wow, it's just really it's just dragging on. I think they're not having luck negotiating this trade deal. That's what's going on, and I think Boris Johnson was gave him a deadline of 15th of October, which is quite soon. I'm
Hmm.
not sure what's going to happen. It's but it's become so kind of not irrelevant, but there's other stuff going on here that are seem to be affecting the public even more. You know, with all the new rules that you can't do this or that, you have to wear something on your face and stuff.
Yeah, stuff like they're getting into this position where we just before you came on the show, we had Supreme Cannon on the first hour, and we were discussing this chip that they're rolling out, and it's there. It's not a chip that is in the making or it's some conspiracy thing. It is here. It's patented and it's here, and it's not going to track you. It's not going to follow you, but it's gonna protect you from getting COVID.
Well, yeah, the stuff in in the vaccine you're talking about that.
Well, it's an actual chip they want to implant to actually monitor your DNA, apparently. Or yeah, it's
Yeah, I mean that's a really bad thing, slippery road,
yeah.
because that means they can change the way you are. They can change your DNA, and I mean I don't know what's going to happen if that's what they want to force everyone to have a vaccine. But the Nuremberg, you know, code or whatever during the Nuremberg trials, one
Right.
thing they said is that every nobody should be forced to do any medical experiments, and I would say that's a medical experiment.
Yes. Mary, okay, here's a big one. And I've been asking this over and over again. Um, when do you think they're going to trash cash, go digital, and then go into negative rates? You see parts of Europe already in negative rates. I think it's Deutsche Bank that's charging investors, or not investors, but depositors with over 100,000 in their account, and they're paying negative rates. The only way we would prevent to see a runoff on the markets, or how do you say, runoff on the financial systems, is by going digital. Now, Mario, do you see this happening anytime soon, or is just this another thing that's floating around?
Well, I think in some countries it's happening, like Sweden. I think they
Hmm.
don't really use cash. Some countries, though, like Switzerland, I don't think they'll ever give up cash. Here, yeah, they're really, you know, trying to push you to use debit cards and your cards instead of cash, and they're using this pandemic as an excuse, saying that cash is dirty, but at the same time, they're still selling newspapers, which is a piece of paper, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think ideally the bankers would like that because that means people cannot, the cash is always in the system. The money M1 money supply is always there, and they can. There's no dangers anymore of bank runs. Even actually, there is danger of bank runs, but it would be done maybe through buying precious metals, for example. You would you wouldn't take the cash out, but you just buy gold and silver and clean out your bank account.
Right.
So, it wouldn't really be foolproof for bank runs, but yeah, that's what they're looking for. And the other thing as well, people don't realize when you use your debit card, uh, they're always taking a fee. The bank that issues that card, they take a fee from every transaction. They take a fee from the vendor
Hmm.
who uses the card machine every month.
Right.
But when you use cash, you there's no charge, right? Cash is like free to use.
Well, what's
You
going to happen with the side vendors and mom and pops and Amish people and Quakers and people
Yeah,
that
well, they've already got the little, you can get one yourself, a little card machine, and so there are, I think there are some homeless people who have those as well. You just, instead of giving cash, you go and you just swipe your card. So,
Well,
but
one thing that threw me for a curveball that you just jumped on homeless, I could not believe it, Mario, when I read that article about 10, 11 months ago, just before COVID hit, that you guys have more food banks than you have McDonald's.
probably, yeah, it's a big thing here, the food banks. Yeah.
And
Uh,
that set me that set me back. I'm like, what? London, England? Are you out of your what? How? And then Australia
yeah,
was talking to people in Australia that have heavily mortgaged. They were calling food banks to giving them food bank vouchers so they could eat because they couldn't afford to pay their mortgages. Like,
that's the thing. That's the thing. The consequence of the '08 collapse. They've tried to kept, by they I mean the governments and central banks. They've tried to kept the bubbles going, housing bubble, but all they keep doing is debasing the currency, uh, increasing housing costs, food costs. So even families who have like the mom and dad working, uh, they're struggling
mhm,
because their wages haven't kept up,
with
and so they're
inflation,
no, it's
wages
not
haven't
wage.
kept up with
No,
inflation,
it's
right?
not inflation. It's rising. His wages are not going up as fast as the rate of inflation.
Right.
That's what I try to tell people as well. There's no such thing as food inflation or wage inflation. The only thing that's inflation is the monetary system, is the money and credit. That's inflation.
Mhm.
And the consequence of that is rising costs. You see, because the currency becomes worth less. So the rent becomes more difficult to pay. Yeah. And I 20, 25 years ago, if you had a family where the mom and dad worked, they wouldn't have that problem.
No.
It would be very easy you could buy a five-bedroom house in London in the mid 90s for 250,000 pounds. Now you're looking at paying over 1 million very easily.
Mhm.
So, but your wages haven't gone up. So
Right.
it's impossible.
Mario, you're not going to believe this, but I actually lived at a time where the father could go to work and sustain the whole family and send me to school and put me through college or whatever, and that was just the father working. And now times have changed so much that, yeah. Okay, I got a question here from Jelena, who's a big fan of my two favorite YouTubers at the same time. She's from Iceland, and she has a question here. She's asking via Skype. Can the stock market protect wealth better than gold and silver?
Mm. I guess if you go back, some people go back 100 years and they say if you invested in the Dow and got the dividends, you'd be doing better. But the thing is, if you look at the Dow 100 years ago,
Hmm.
I don't think there's many companies that are left in there. Maybe General Motors, but I
Hmm.
don't even know if they're still in there. So unless you're very wealthy and you have people managing your portfolio, making sure that you rebalance, yeah, it does do well, the stock market. But when I talk about gold and silver and having some, it's more like saving, right?
Hmm.
Because gold and silver are not investments, they're money. So uh, maybe the stock market does perform better, but it's more speculative. It's riskier because it's an investment. You're speculating in the profitability of a company, while gold and silver are just like really safe.
Trinsit.
And
Trinsit,
yeah, they're
physical,
money, they're
real.
savings. There's a difference. There's savings. It does look in the system that we've had since 1971, a fiat currency system. It looks like gold and silver are investments because they go up and then come down a lot. But that's what they want you to believe. The powers that be, the central bankers, the bankers, and politicians, because they don't want people to save in gold and silver because they want people to save in their fiat paper, in their debt. They want you to keep financing this this scheme that I call, and why do they want you to finance it? Well, because the politicians get more votes because they can. If you finance the government, you're basically allowing them to buy votes because they can come up with projects for their constituents and get reelected, and also the bankers stay happy because the more debt the government issues, they're the broker for debt. They always make a commission. So yeah, the stock market might do better over the long term, but you also get the crashes, which
Right.
a lot of times the markets rebound from it. But a lot of people, they get scared. You see, they think it's the end and they get out and then it comes back again. I think it's just a game. The
Hmm.
very wealthy, they know what they're doing because a lot of them are connected and they know when things are going to happen. So, but if you are going to go into the stock market, I think you need to know what you putting your money into, what
Yeah.
company. You just don't buy a stock because the name sounds great and because everyone's buying it.
Yeah. That's a good one. Thank you. Okay, so we got, I got this one I wanted to ask you. The Fed owns a total of 23,000. This is from, I've been collecting and getting information. The Fed owns a total of 23,940 different securities. It is now the world's biggest investor. What does this mean to the small guy? Ever since we deregulated the banks, like you said, in 1971, Richard Milhouse Nixon took them off the gold standard. And let me ask you let me break this down to a first question. This is the question I wanted to ask you. I asked you this question on the live stream, but I guess it was going too fast. When they went off the gold standard in 1971, do you think it was done so they could go to war because it's too expensive to take a country to war with a gold-backed currency? That's what my opinion is. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
Or
well, yeah, of course. By then, the Vietnam War was raging already, and the U.S. was basically it was actually a gold exchange system, not a classical gold standard, because only the dollar was backed by gold,
Mhm.
but all the other currencies were fixed to the dollar, so indirectly they were backed by gold, and the major trading partners of the U.S., like France, Germany, the U.K., and Japan, they realized that the U.S. was inflating the system. What does that mean? Well, they were issuing too many dollars without gold backing
Ah,
to finance Vietnam War, to finance like the Great Society experiment. That was Lyndon Johnson with programs to fight poverty, which actually increased poverty, right?
right. And like the war
Governments,
on drugs, increased drugs.
yeah. So it came to a point where the German, French, UK Treasury were coming up to the window of the U.S. Treasury and saying, giving, actually asking for gold.
Right.
They had too many. They weren't. They knew the U.S. was over
Printing.
issuing,
Hmm.
so that's why they closed the gold window because they were going to run out of gold because they issued too many promises that they couldn't keep. It's like the fractional reserve, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That we have today.
Oh, those debt
So
swap buybacks are terrible. Oh, let's lend out some money to some guy we know who can't pay it back. And then when he can't pay it back, we'll just buy the bad debt and give you a fractional 10 times that on that. And it's like, what?
so the choice there, I think August 15th, the Nixon's advisors told him there's a few choices. You can raise, let the Fed raise interest rates, but politicians don't like that because if you raise interest rates, you attract foreigners to put their money in dollars. So
Right.
that would stop the flow of gold. But they're always worrying about elections, so they said no. And the other one was to devalue the dollar versus gold from 35, to maybe 70.
Hmm.
But they didn't want to do that as well. They wanted to pretend that the dollar was still as good as 35. $35 is still as good as an ounce. So they decided to just suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold. That's what Nixon said.
That's
So, but it's been temporary for almost 50 years now.
because a few administrations before him, he had John Fitzgerald Kennedy that was against the whole Fed and against the whole foreign entity banks, and he paid with it with his life.
Uh, yeah, I mean, some people, I've heard that argument about because he issued silver certificates,
Yes.
but I'm not really sure whether he was anti-Fed. He probably was. I haven't really seen any factual comments from him. But you look at Bobby Kennedy
Hmm.
Jr., his nephew. He's I think he was in Germany a few weeks ago. Big protest against what's going on here,
Right.
and he actually mentioned the banks
Yeah,
that
and that's treading on lava. Once a politician or a higher-ranking official starts mentioning the B word, I mean that's worse than talking about war or anything. I mean the B word doesn't get thrown around too much in these high establishments. They keep it on the down low. So okay, second part of the question: Fed owns a total of 23,940 different securities. Now, with
yeah.
all the deregulation going on, I mean, what does this mean for the small guy? I mean, the people that are not in this, that don't understand this huge box of
Well,
moving parts.
yeah, I mean, this is what this central banking fiat currency system has done over the last 100 years with their pump and dump schemes. Uh, it's allowed the Fed. Well, and when you say the Fed, it's each regional Federal Reserve banks. The bank that owns all the assets. The New York Fed is the biggest, and they're all owned by the member banks. So they're all actually private banks. These Fed banks, and yeah, the wealthier are owning more and more, and the bottom 90% is owning less and less. And that's what this scheme does.
Actually, let's beg to differ there a little bit because this was about almost a half a year ago. I read an article how it's not the 1%, it's the 0.001%. That was
Yeah,
nuts. I couldn't
yeah,
believe that when the distribution people it's just you have this you're up here with production. People are still producing or doing their best to produce, but the pay is just way down here. And people aren't getting paid what they're worth anymore. And that's the scary part. That's so
that's the inflation. You
yeah.
see, that's the inflation. The wealthy can protect themselves from inflation because they've got access to the credit, and they got access to hard assets as well, to real estate, to land, to precious metals. So yeah, and if your wages keep losing value over the years, and your cost of living is going up, it's really gonna.
Impoverish.
Yeah, you're trying to pay your bills every month, and you need to go to a food bank. How you can't really, you're not going to be worrying about investing, are you, when you're doing that?
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Okay, so we got an article here that was sent to me. Analysts see gold on an upswing after holding support at 1850. Is this the floor? 1850. Mario, you think 1850 is the floor? Or we're going to start seeing an uptrend from here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say. Uh,
We do have a stimulus coming up. We do have a stimulus injection coming up
yeah,
real
it's hard to
soon.
say, in the short term where gold's going to go. Yeah, I think it held quite well, that 1850. We closed around 1900 on Friday. The key level really on the upside to see gold probably go even higher is 1920.
Okay. Now I wanted to ask you the GDX is down a little bit, and the GDXJ is down, the junior miners. Do you think it's a good time for people to get in right now, or?
Yeah, the thing about those is that they're not really gold. You're betting on the companies that mine for gold,
Right, right.
and so and that's the thing I tell people. This bull market, I think we are in a bull market for gold and silver now. and it gets really volatile. And junior miners and main GDXJ and GDX, they will outperform gold, but when there are corrections, they will underperform.
Okay.
So I think it's a good time to be in those.
We do a lot of junior miners talk here in our comments section here from the viewers. They talk a lot about gold juniors and stuff, and that's pretty big here. A lot of talk of it on the. So I wanted to ask you that. Okay, so all right. So what's going on? You did a video and it was a really good one. Mushrooming debt bubble video. This Ponzi scheme will keep going on. Is this Ponzi scheme going to keep going on? That's my question. And I'm going to tie it into an article. What happens to the Treasury market when the next stimulus bill passes?
Well, the Fed will just buy all the debt. Yeah, it might come down a little bit. The Treasury prices and the yield might go back up a little bit. But even though the Chinese are not buying as many Treasuries, and they have talked about that the fact that they could get rid of 20% of their Treasuries, but the Fed will probably come out and start buying even more. Their balance sheet went from like 3.5 trillion last year to now $7 trillion.
That's huge.
Dollars.
That's
Yeah.
huge. That's
So,
huge.
but now in the last few months, it's kind of leveled off. So it will probably just start going back up when if there's this stimulus. I think the House passed it, the Democrats passed it, 2 trillion.
Yes.
But you need to have the other side approve it and the president sign it. So it's probably going to be something in between. I think the Republicans won at 1 trillion, so it's probably going to be 1.75. But it's going to keep coming, these stimulus, and I think the Fed, they've said that they can create as much money as they want, and they probably will, and it will keep. And with that, they buy bonds to keep rates low. But the flip side of that is that the currency is going to be worth less and less, and that's what gold and silver are telling us.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, it's going to seep through to other commodities, because other commodities are still really low relative to the stock market and financial assets.
Yeah, the best hedge.
Commodities like oil, grains and
Corn,
copper.
soy.
Yeah.
Mario, I remember you saying this a few whiles back, that the best hedge against inflation is gold and silver. So okay, I'm gonna open the comments for questions for Mario. So we got a 3-second or a 5 or 10-second lag here from the live stream. Guys, ask Mario your questions. I know you guys have a ton of questions. I see you guys going on there in the comment section. So before any questions start rolling in, let's get personal with Mario. Mario, what's your favorite ice cream, buddy?
Favorite ice cream?
Are you a chocolate man or are you a vanilla man?
Chocolate, but I like both.
Yeah?
Pistachio ice cream is nice too.
Yeah? What's your favorite sport? Don't say golf.
It is.
It is?
Golf.
Okay,
Yes.
What's your favorite sport to watch?
Golf.
You watch golf on TV? Wow.
I don't anymore, but I don't watch that. I don't watch many sports that much anymore, so I don't really watch TV.
Okay. One more last personal clue. Blah, blah, blah. Do you speak? Oh, I already know your second. I already know your second language. I was gonna ask if you spoke any other languages. Okay, we got our first question in. Mike, ask him please. This is out of Virginia, United States. What do you think about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency?
Yeah, they have a purpose. Bitcoin was designed to have a very, a lot of control in its supply. I think there's about 17 million Bitcoins ever mined, and the limit is 21 million. So yeah, it will do better than the fiat dollar. And the other altcoins, you've got to be very careful. You've got to be really involved because they keep changing. They get, you get updates, new wallets. You've got to save your private key. So for young people who are really tech savvy, I think they're good. And they're very speculative, so they will do well as well, I think, like precious metals. but they will be very volatile, and that's what you have to take into consideration. Uh, I would consider them more as speculation and investment rather than saving. But I've been dealing with cryptocurrencies for years, but yeah, you need to really do your homework before you get involved.
Okay. Supreme Canada is saying, I've heard gold defined as another form of zero coupon bond. If regular bonds have almost no return, there's essentially no difference.
Well, that's not true because the very wealthy and the central banks, they lease gold, which means they lend gold out, so they do get a return on it. And prior to the system that we're under, the fiat currency system, you the money was gold. So if you lent someone money, you were getting you were getting paid in gold. So it's only and the other thing I would say, yeah, maybe nowadays I can't go and lend my gold. Maybe very wealthy people do on the LBMA, they lease their gold. But if you look at bonds now in Europe, I think there's about 13 trillion or maybe more of bonds that have a negative yield. So yeah, gold might be a zero coupon bond right now, but there are bonds out there that are negative. So the tendency is for these people, even the U.S., is to get bond yields to zero or negative. So, and if you account, let's say you buy a 10-year Treasury for its yield is 0.7%,
right?
And CPI, even the doctored one that they have is like 1.6. You're still losing 1% in real terms because you get 0.7 a return, and the rate of price increase or inflation, if you want to call it that, is 1.7, let's say. So you're actually losing 1%. With gold, it might not give you anything, but it stays the same. It doesn't dissolve or anything.
No, obviously, yeah. We got, wow, there's a lot of stuff flowing through the comments here. What's that? Are you getting tired, Mario? You okay?
No.
Touch bone?
Yeah, I'm fine. We've got a bit more time, haven't we?
Touch bone?
No?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not overstretching you because I know it's like 5 in the morning there. I just want to... Somebody asked in the comments, is Brazil free? Is it a free country? Is it free?
I guess it's as free as any other country these days. So I actually think it's probably easier to be free in Brazil than the U.S. or the U.K. because
lots of red tape. Lots of red tape in these in Canada too. Yeah,
the government is not as efficient. The police is not as efficient. So if you are fortunate enough to be well off, you can really do anything you want within reason, of course. The red tape, that's right.
So let me ask you, Mario. There's been a lot of just hearing this through the grapevine. A lot of millionaires leasing or financing or collateralizing out expensive painting penthouses to get cheap cash. What is that? I mean, this is going through a couple of screens here of people that I've been talking to overseas, and they're saying that they're getting cash. They're getting money. What are they going to do this? Are they going to move the markets with this money? What are these people planning on getting? They're already rich. They're already well off. Why are they liquidizing everything and collateralizing everything to get more money? What are they planning with the cheap money?
I hadn't heard that. I'm not sure how you can get a loan on a work of art or something, but maybe they're being greedy and they want to buy even more stuff with it.
Yeah.
Because why would you want to have cash? I think the very wealthy, they might hold $1 million in the bank account, but if you compare that to their wealth, if it's a multi-billionaire, it's a fraction of it.
Right.
I think.
Right. Yeah, because I
hadn't heard about that, so I couldn't really comment. I haven't heard about this this scheme.
Liquidating for more cash. I want to ask you. I want to tell you something, actually, Mario. I had a bunch of youngsters in my store today, young kids in their very early 20s and late teens, and I was telling them that back in the day, a bank account would pay you 4.5% on your money, and you on $1 million, you could get 45 large per year in a return. And they're like, "No way! My bank's not even paying me 0.25%." You know what I'm saying? So people nowadays, I think what's happening generationally, people are kind of massaged and believing what this Ponzi crap and this injection and this QE infinity is all normal. But people like older people, generations like us that start dying off, want to pass the story down to let people know that it was prosperous, that money did have value at one point. I remember I think my dad had a little bit of a bank account, and he was gaining like 7.9% back in the early 80s on his money. And it's gotten so bad. I think Reagan kind of saved the day early in his administration when he raised rates, and that kind of helped a little bit. And then things started to go downhill after his administration, and then you had the Walker Bush, and then you had all that, and then you started seeing interest rates go down in bank accounts, and then until the early 2000s, they were promoting 2% interest. 2%, that doesn't even hedge against inflation. So,
Yeah.
so what do you have to tell people like the young today, the youth today? Especially the ones that were asking me today, are we out of this financial rut, Mike? Is it done yet? What do you have to tell, Mario, to people that think we're out of this mess already? Like we're moving forward.
Learn a little history. That's what they need to do, because many people, that's the only reason. One of the things that's helped me is to go back in history. And in history, I don't mean 50 years. I mean 100, 150, 200. You need to learn history to understand what's going on. And yeah, it's normal that we've had since '08 now, we basically have had zero rates in the world, in the developed world. And it looks like the Fed said the other day that they're going to keep it at zero at least till 2023. So it's almost 20 years of zero rates. And these young people, they never have experienced a normal market, and people think that this is normal now.
Well, because
yeah,
we used to be a nation of savers. We used to build wealth. We used to build wealth. We used to save. We used to buy a second home for investment purpose. We used to buy a cottage, and we used to be a wealth-building society, Mario. Up until the late 80s, everything just started to fall apart, and now we're indebted society, and we have governments. We got governge telling people, our young people understand debt. We understand debt. They're not scared of debt. Debt's a normal thing. It's part of living. And that's what they're trying. The governments are telling this to the young people.
Yeah,
get a student loan.
Yeah, because the governments are owned by the banks. Who benefits from more debt? The banks do. Yeah, that's right. They destroyed free market capitalism.
Right.
The way it worked is, you could maybe borrow a little bit, but you just worked, you saved, and then you invested that money. Nowadays, people say, "Oh yeah, they are investing," but they're investing money that they borrowed. So it's all screwed up, isn't it? And if they don't give a return on your money, you can't really save, can you? So you got to speculate, which they call it investment. But real saving is putting your money to work like at 3, 4, 5%, right, in the bank.
All right. Hard-hitting question. In Canada, we had an article that was up about a year and a half ago that exposed money laundering in Canada, saying Canada would be in a recession if it wasn't for money laundering by Better Dwelling. And they've caught 200 and some odd $billion shadow flipped through real estate in Canada for a couple of years. And then the federal government shut down the investigation. Now, Mario, my question to you is, would the UK, would England, would the City of London would be in a recession if it wasn't for foreign money laundering being washed up on your shores? Wholeheartedly, would the country be in a recession? Would you be in a restart now if it wasn't for all this laundered money?
We're in a recession right now because of the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of, and the problem is that central London, the local people can't afford to live there anymore. You can't afford to live there and work there anymore because it's all owned by foreign oligarchs. and nothing bad about foreigners, but I heard a scheme that they use. For example, the multi-billionaire Russian oligarchs, the way they launder the money back into the UK is that they might be friends, but they start a court case against each other in the English courts,
Oh,
and then the court decides in one person's favor and tell them you have to pay tell the other guy you have to pay him $2 billion, and the judge stamps that, and that's the way to clean the money.
what?
They've got all these different schemes that they use the legal system. It's crazy. And no, you need to watch Britain's Second Empire.
Hmm.
In the Spider's Web, Britain's Second Empire. Watch that on YouTube. It actually shows that all the more than half of the offshore money in the world goes through the city of London, and
Wow.
the Bank of England turns a blind eye to it because it's domiciled offshore,
Right.
but it flows through the city. It flows through here, like in the books.
Let me ask you an out of the box question. Could this little COVID thing that happen at the right time? Because COVID had to happen at this specific right time because of the lack of capital outflow of money from China has been capped, and the governments there are having a runoff on wealth, and they've been actually capping it. COVID comes mysteriously in at the right time to kind of shadow box this in to make it look like this is why the economy is crashing, instead of the amounts of billions and trillions of dollars that are no longer leaving the shores. Because Australia was in a lot of trouble with this too. With this.
Yeah, I think this has been used to basically because it wasn't this economy we've had since '08. They didn't fix anything after the '08 crisis, and all they did is throw more money and debt into the system. And we saw last September the repo market in the U.S.
Hmm.
Rates went from 2 to 10. It was coming unglued, the whole system again, and I think they've used this as a way to bring the whole system down. It looks like they're trying to fight from the system collapsing with all the programs. But yeah, it will be a really good excuse for them to flush down the system, flush down the economy, and then start again afresh. And if they hadn't had this crisis, it would have been very, very hard, and people would be already out in the streets
Hmm.
because. But I personally think the general public has itself to blame because they've played into this game of taking on more debt. They were only able to succeed doing that, the bankers and the politicians, because we as a society have continued to borrow and spend.
Hmm.
But I think we're near the end now, and that's why they're doing the lockdowns, and that's why. So yeah, I think it's all connected. About China, I'm not too sure. It's probably the same
Hmm.
in Australia and the UK and the US and the whole of Europe.
New Zealand and Canada too.
Yeah,
Because I know Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK were competing for rich investors, right? They were printing out manuals for houses and upcoming condo projects, all in Mandarin, and if you know. But anyways, a little bit off topic. We are winding down, but I want to ask: is that your golf shirt? Is that your golf shirt? Is that ready for later?
yeah, I'm gonna wear that probably.
Yeah. When you're in Canada, if you ever come to Canada, I'm not sure if you ever do, but if you ever come to Canada, I'll play you in. I look like a real golfer. When you look at me, I have the shoes, the pants, the shirt. I really can't play at all. But I look like I know what I'm doing. I even wear the hat, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But we got to maybe catch a round of golf like Glen Abbey or something. You know what I mean?
I heard of that course. Yeah,
Yeah, I have my uncle is like a directing manager there, so like I just walk on there like I own the place, but I don't know how
they
to.
played the Canadian Open there, haven't they? A
Yeah,
few times.
that's right. That's right. So Mario, what do you got planned for the channel? What do you got? Any big plans?
Not really. I just keep going. That's the plan, and getting more viewers, but nothing really out of the no plans. I just do my videos and hopefully
Your v-
I'm able
videos, and
to.
I'm going to speak on behalf of the people watching this. Your videos are very um, insightful, very knowledgeable, very easy to understand, very easy for the common person that doesn't know too much about someone jumping onto investing or trying to understand the markets or trying to understand stimulus, trying to understand basic things like inflation. You say it in a way. I like the one where you're talking about. You go to the gym. Do that story you said about going to the gym about inflation on your live
I
stream.
don't.
You go to the
I,
gym and you start inflating yourself with tons of food and you're working out, but then you stop going to the gym and you keep eating.
yeah, you're gonna. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's because people think that rising prices is inflation, but no, rising prices is a consequence of inflation,
that's
right?
correct.
Because the governments create the money and credit, and the money becomes worthless, and it buys less, and it looks like prices are going up.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Someone's not fat because they've weighed themselves and seen that their weight has gone up. They grow fat because they eat more than they uh, uh, put out.
Right.
They put too much energy in through eating, and they don't expend as much out, and that's how. So it's the same thing with inflation.
Right. Yeah. No. I saw that the other day on your live stream. That was pretty funny how you kind of threw that together to just for the basic. A lot of people out there need a good. How do you say? Need to wake up to a really good. How do you say? Understanding economics, understanding. Even a basic understanding, because they don't teach this stuff in school. They don't teach people credit management. They don't teach people how to check for their credit score and check for gaps on file or checking for specifics. They don't teach any of this stuff, and it's very dangerous. They know how to figure out a hypotenuse, and they know if a train's going 80 miles an hour, what's going to happen to it, but they have no idea what's happening with their money. And that's the sad part,
Well,
Mariam.
they do teach. They say, "Oh, inflation is the CPI." That's what they do, but they don't go under the surface and tell the student that it's the government and the banks that create the inflation, because they don't want people to know that. They say that inflation is usually because of greedy businessmen and
Mm-hmm.
greedy shop owners. They raise the prices, right? That's why even the academia has been compromised by the people who control the system. That's why they don't teach it properly.
It's scary. It's scary that you think somebody with so much education and so much know-how and hoping that they're going to get something for the money they paid for would at least know some of the basics. I mean, even in high school, credit counseling or something at high school. So this is what's going to happen to you when you take out this debt. Now these kids are rolling in more and more debt and these student loans, and they believe that this piece of paper is going to give them an extra figure a year, and it's scary. It is very, very scary. Comments are going nuts tonight. And the replay value on some of these videos are pretty good. Mike in the Night. Do you like Mike in the Night? Did you ever watch Mike in the Night?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not live because
I know, I
it's a
know,
bit, yeah.
I know. I get I have some guests coming on, like a couple of other I got one on the works. I got a couple on the works. I've been begging Max Kaiser to come on, and I don't know. I've been begging him, come on, man, come on my show. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these people are licensed through these subsidiaries that if they're not allowed to show their face in certain, you know what I mean, right? Sometimes that happens when you try to get somebody like I emailed Ric Flair, the wrestler, and he has some very good political views. I want to have him on for politics, and he hasn't. He replied, said he'll think about it, and he hasn't got back to me yet. So
You just have to ask, I guess. Sometimes just they will say yes or no. So
Oh, you
that's
oh you're just a bundle of joy. You've been on 2 times, and we love you on here, man. You're such a
thank you.
it's so good. Personal. What's your favorite destination to travel to?
Italy,
Italy. What part?
any part of Italy. I like Italy. It hasn't always been like that, but I appreciate Italy. It's really a nice country, I think.
Okay. Have you been to Portugal?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, because I know you speak Portuguese. That's why I wanted to
Yeah,
ask you
yeah.
if it's a Portugal.
No, Portugal is nice as well,
Yeah.
but just think Italy. There's so much history, and the food is really good, and the people are nice.
Lots of
And
housing bargains out there. Lots of housing bargains.
yeah, I think it's a little early still, but I think there will be.
Favorite car?
Uh, I don't, not really into cars, but yeah, not really
Okay,
into
growing up
cars.
as a kid, Corvette, Ferrari.
I actually used to like drawing cars, my own cars,
Okay.
but all cars really.
Uh huh.
Don't really have a favorite.
Okay. Favorite dessert?
Favorite dessert.
You could have.
Coupe Denmark. It's a in Switzerland. It's a dessert. It's basically a lot of ice cream and hot chocolate on top.
Oh, oh,
Denmark Cup, it's called.
nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, that's really good. You know, getting personal with Mario here, but that I do that with most of the guests now. Just get personal, ask them. You know, it's always so serious, but you know, we need to wind it down with a little bit of dessert and favorite countries and wait. Let me think one more. If you had to relocate to another country besides Brazil and you can't stay in England, What country would you move to if there's some sort of economic breakdown? If you had a choice.
Well, it's difficult because I think the breakdown is going to be everywhere, but it would probably be like a country in this Eastern Europe. I think would be good,
Okay. Like east of Romania area, like up there,
or like
Poland.
Montenegro or Albania,
Okay,
even Albania.
so that would be a safe place to ride it out.
I don't think anywhere is that safe anymore. So it doesn't. That's the beauty of it. You can go anywhere because everywhere is not that safe.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of yeah. All right. Maneco64, guys. I really want you guys to get over there right now and subscribe to his channel. He deserves a lot more. He's done a lot, and he appeals to everybody, the young, the old, and his contrarian views. Mario, man, it's been an hour, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And yeah, if you ever want, I know you don't do Skype, but if you ever want to practice your Portuguese, you could call me and we could just talk in Portuguese if you'd like, you know.
Okay,
All right.
great. All right. Thank you for having me, and
Oh, no,
thank
thank
you.
you for coming on. Thank you for coming
Yeah,
on.
I enjoyed the chat with you.
I
Thanks.
appreciate it. Mario, you take care, stay strong, and keep that swing nice and straight. And
Okay.
and we'll talk real soon. God bless.
Thanks.
Adeus.
Adeus.
Okay. Guys, that is Maneco64, guys. He is the king. The king of when it comes to understanding markets. He breaks it down so nicely. Markets, monetary policy, precious metals, economics, and geopolitics. Maneco64, the home of alternative economics and contrarian views, was on the show tonight. I'm going to give you guys a link. I'm going to go to his home right here. I'm going to show you guys this on Article Scan. There he is, Maneco64. And I'm going to give you guys the link to his page. I want everyone to go over there right now and subscribe to him right now. And like you watch his videos, he just breaks it down for anybody. Like, I mean, if my kid was old enough, like when my kid reaches 12, 13, he comes home from school, he's going to have to watch this. An hour of this every day before he goes on his tablet or before he even does his homework. He needs to watch stuff like this. Because, again, okay, I'm going to go over some of the videos I liked very much. So we're going to go over here. Let's go to his videos. I'm going to show you guys here. I forgot to ask him about the gold manipulation and the market spoofing. Damn. Okay. Uncertainty for markets and economy. That was a good one. National debt will keep mushrooming. And he's got a quote here from President Woodrow Wilson, who basically the president who sold out the United States of America. You look into your history, and what is the other one was good? World Council tries to steer investors towards. Was that the one? Was that the World Gold Council to paper? In Portuguese, it's papel. In Spanish, papel. Okay, wake up and smell the inflation. He discussed it. He broke down inflation 50 different ways tonight on the show, so we get a good understanding. What else we got here? Lots. There was another one I saw here the other day. It was really good. Yeah, all fiat currencies will collapse, not just the dollar. How much silver should you hold to be in the top 1%? That one I'm going to watch. I actually put a notification to watch that one later.